It was 6 o'clock in the morning when I woke up, feeling a strange mix of anxiety and excitement that made my stomach twist. Today was not like any other day. Today was my last day as Isaac and Benjamin's mother, the mother they had never truly cared about. Tomorrow I would be Cecilia again. Just Cecilia, a free woman starting a life of her own, unshackled from the chains of neglect and empty promises. Fiona, my nurse, noticed my unease as she checked my vital signs. "You look very tense today, Mrs. Stone. Is something bothering you?" I forced a small smile. "On the contrary, honey, I'm excited. Today marks the end of a life that no longer serves me." She smiled knowingly, jotting down notes. I could see the relief in her eyes for me, even though she had no idea of the full plan that would unfold today. During the morning, I mentally reviewed everything. Linda had withdrawn the $8,000 I had saved, keeping it safe at her house. Fiona's sister had prepared the power of attorney documents that would allow Linda to manage my legal and financial affairs in my absence. My cousin Hope was already in Dallas, waiting with open arms. Everything was ready. At exactly 2 p.m, Isaac and Benjamin arrived, punctual as always. They brought Diana, wearing a new coral-coloured dress that must have cost more than I spent on food in 2 months. Her smile was polished, fake, but she was proud of herself for looking perfect. Mela arrived 15 minutes later, apologising for a work call she couldn't miss. "Mom, you look much better," Isaac said, sitting in the chair farthest from my bed. "Yes," Mela added. "The doctor said you'll probably be discharged this week. You've always been very strong." Strong? Yes. Strong enough to endure their abandonment, their selfishness, their inability to care when I nearly died. Diana tilted her head, her perfect smile frozen in place. "And what plans do you have when you leave the hospital? We understand our schedules are hectic, but we can call you on weekends." Benjamin jumped in, pretending concern. "We thought maybe you should consider a senior living facility. 24-hour nurses, activities, people your age, it's safer." I listened silently, feeling my blood boil quietly. They were planning my exile as if I were a package to be delivered somewhere safe while they continued their perfect, busy lives. Mela added, "It would also be easier for everyone. Another emergency and the staff can handle it so you don't interrupt our lives." The naked truth. They wanted to ensure that next time I was near death they wouldn't be inconvenienced. I felt a strange smile forming on my lips. "You're right," I said softly. "I need a radical change in my life." The four of them visibly relaxed, thinking I had accepted their plan. Isaac said, "It's best for everyone." "Yes," I echoed, keeping my calm. "It's best for everyone." For the next hour they continued discussing the logistics of my supposed future. How clean the facility was, how decent the food seemed, how $2,000 a month was a feasible investment in my well-being. Diana proudly showed photos of the $1,200 designer dress Benjamin gave her and the $300 cake from her birthday party. Meanwhile, I had nearly starved for their attention, ignored during my heart attack. At 4 p.m, they began their typical exit routine. Mela kept checking her watch. Diana yawned exaggeratedly, as if I bored her. Benjamin stared at his phone. "Well, Mom," Isaac said, standing, "we should go. Dinner with Mela's parents awaits." "Go in peace, dears," I said, each word measured. Their kisses were quick, superficial, obligatory. Diana even wiped her lips, disgusted as if my skin had left a residue. They left, leaving behind the scent of expensive perfume and empty promises. Alone in the room, I looked at the door they had just crossed. In minutes, Linda would arrive to help with the final phase of my plan. In a few hours, I would be on a bus to Dallas, and my hospital bed would be empty. My children would be reading the letter that would change their lives forever. For the first time since the heart attack, I smiled. Not happiness, but liberation. A smile of someone who realized her life mattered more than crumbs of attention from ungrateful children. Fiona returned for the afternoon checkup. "How do you feel, Mrs. Stone?" "Free, Fiona. Completely free from the illusion that anyone but me values me." At 6 p.m, Linda arrived punctual as ever, carrying my suitcase and the $8,000. "Ready for your new life, my dear?" she asked. "More than ready, Linda. I've waited decades without knowing I was waiting." By 7 p.m, the hospital was quiet. Night shift nurses moved lazily down corridors. Fiona helped with the most delicate part of the plan, leaving without an official record. "Are you ready, Cecilia?" "Yes, 40 years without turning back. Today I move towards something, not away." I put on the dark green dress I had never dared to wear, a colour of hope, of a new beginning. Fiona coordinated perfectly, and soon we met Sarah, her sister, a serious yet kind attorney. The documents were signed under the yellow light of the parking lot. Power of attorney, medical competency certificate, all proof that this decision was deliberate, not impulsive. Each signature took me further from my past life. The taxi ride to the bus terminal was silent. At 10 p.m, we boarded the night bus to Dallas, a 12-hour trip that would take me far from the life of neglect I had endured. I sent one last text to my children. "Isaac, Benjamin, by the time you read this, I will be far away. In my hospital bed, you will find a letter explaining everything. Don't look for me, this is final. Be happy with your lives. I will be happy without you. Cecilia." Then I turned off my phone, leaving behind years of desperation, neglect and pain. The bus rolled on through the night. Through the window I watched lights of small towns pass by, imagining mothers who were appreciated, whose children loved them. I didn't feel sadness or guilt, only hope. I was going to be the protagonist of my story for the first time in decades. The night carried me further from unrecognized sacrifices and closer to dignity, self-respect and freedom. Part 2, Cecilia's awakening, continues. The morning sun filtered through the hospital blinds, painting stripes of light on the pale walls. I woke up at 6 a.m. with a flutter in my chest, a mix of anxiety, excitement, and a strange sense of liberation. Today was not just any day. Today was the final chapter of a life spent bending and sacrificing for people who never truly appreciated me. Isaac and Benjamin would arrive in the afternoon, just like they had promised, carrying the same false smiles that had haunted my dreams for years. Fiona, the nurse who had become a quiet ally over the past few weeks, noticed my tension. "You look tense today, Mrs. Stone. Are you worried?" she asked, adjusting my vital signs with a gentle touch. I smiled faintly, feeling a strength I hadn't realized I still had. "On the contrary, Fiona, I'm excited. Today is the last day I live a life that no longer belongs to me." All morning I ran through every detail in my mind. Linda had withdrawn the $8,000 from my bank account on Friday and kept it at her house. Fiona's sister had prepared a power of attorney, allowing Linda to handle my legal affairs. My cousin Hope was waiting in Dallas with open arms, ready to welcome me into a life I had only dreamed about. Everything was in place. By 2 p.m, Isaac and Benjamin arrived exactly on time. They brought with them the usual mixture of politeness and self-interest. After lunch, Diana came, dressed in a coral outfit that probably cost more than I had spent on food in 2 months. Mela arrived 15 minutes later, apologizing for a work call she couldn't miss. "Mom, you look much better," Isaac said, settling into a chair far from my bed, his eyes glinting with that practiced concern that never truly reached the heart. Yes, the doctor said you'll likely be discharged this week, Mela added, her voice soft but careful, as if rehearsed. Diana jumped in with a false cheerfulness. We understand that with our schedules it will be difficult to visit often, but we can call you on weekends, of course. And then Benjamin, always the practical one, delivered the final blow. We think it might be better if you consider moving into a senior living facility. They have 24-hour care activities and it would be safer for everyone. A nursing home. After abandoning me during my heart attack, they wanted me to live under constant supervision, as if I were fragile and disposable. Diana, thrilled with her own plan, continued, We visited one last weekend. It's clean, the food is decent, and with your pension plus a small contribution from us, it's feasible. Feasible! A $2,000 monthly plan for my life, while her birthday dress alone had cost more than that. Isaac nodded almost proudly. You could make friends, play cards, attend activities. Much better than being alone in that apartment. I stayed silent, watching my children treat me like a problem to solve, a life to manage rather than a human being with thoughts, desires and feelings. Then Mela added the truth in their polite, calculated way. It's safer. If something happens again, the staff can handle it without interrupting our work or commitments. The naked reality hit me. They wanted my safety only insofar as it didn't inconvenience their lives. So when do you plan to implement this plan? I asked calmly, hiding the rising storm in my chest. Benjamin shrugged. No hurry. Maybe in the next 2 to 3 months you'll have time to adjust. 2 to 3 months, my official exile countdown. I smiled, the smile of a woman who had already left in her mind and in spirit. You know what? I think you're right. I need a radical change in my life. Their relief was almost comical. They thought I had accepted their plan. Glad you see it that way, Mum, Isaac said, smiling. Yes, I repeated softly, watching their eyes light up with satisfaction. It will be best for everyone. For the next hour they planned my exile in detail, safe, secure and completely under their control. Diana showed me photos of her expensive cake and dress, each image a quiet reminder of what they valued more than my life. At 4 p.m. the farewell began. Mela glanced at her watch repeatedly. Diana yawned exaggeratedly. Benjamin checked his phone. Well, Mum, I think it's time for us to go. Dinner with Mela's parents awaits, Isaac announced. Dinner with Mela's parents. Their priority always first. Go in peace, dears, I said softly. They left with obligatory kisses, leaving the faint scent of Diana's perfume and a room empty of love, but full of lessons I had learned. I was alone, finally. Soon Linda would arrive, suitcase in hand, ready to help me execute the plan I had been waiting decades to carry out. In a few hours I would be on a bus to Dallas. In a few hours I would reclaim my life. Fiona returned for her afternoon checkup. How do you feel after the visit? Free, Fiona. Completely free. Free from what? She asked softly. Free from the illusion that anyone values me outside of myself, I whispered, feeling decades of burden lift. At 6 p.m, Linda arrived, punctual as ever, carrying my suitcase and the cash that represented independence. Ready for your new life, Cecilia? She asked, her eyes reflecting pride and friendship. More than ready. I've been waiting for this moment for years without knowing it, I replied, my heart pounding with anticipation. At 7 p.m, As the night shifted to the hospital into calm, Fiona helped us execute the most delicate part of the plan, leaving the hospital without official discharge. Each step felt like reclaiming territory stolen from me years ago. The letter to my children rested on the nightstand, innocent in appearance, deadly in content. Linda reminded me, "Wait until tomorrow afternoon to give it to them. That way you're already in Dallas when chaos erupts." I nodded, feeling a thrill I hadn't felt since my youth. Finally, I was moving towards something, not running away. As we passed through the quiet hospital corridors, I felt like a young girl sneaking out to her first adventure, though the stakes were higher and the years heavier. In the parking lot, Sarah, Fiona's sister, awaited with legal documents. "You have full support. Every step you take today is your choice," she said firmly. I signed each paper under the soft glow of the parking lot lights, feeling the invisible chains of a lifetime snap. Mental competence verified, power of attorney active. Nothing could stop this journey now. The taxi to the bus terminal was silent, each of us absorbed in anticipation. By 10 p.m, I had my ticket to Dallas, 12 hours to freedom. Linda hugged me tightly before I boarded. "Call me as soon as you arrive. You deserve this life." "I will," I promised, stepping onto the bus with a heart full of emotions, fear, excitement, relief, and hope. I sent a final text to my children. "Isaac and Benjamin, by the time you read this, I will be far away. In my hospital bed, you'll find a letter explaining everything. Don't look for me, this is final. I will be happy without you. Cecilia." I turned off my phone, feeling the weight of 40 years lift from my shoulders. The city lights blurred past the window, small towns glowing like distant dreams, and for the first time in decades, hope felt real again. Part 3. A new beginning in Dallas. The bus rumbled along the highway, carrying me away from a city that had been my prison for decades. Each mile felt like shedding another layer of expectations, obligations, and invisible chains my children had wrapped around me without asking. The night was quiet, punctuated only by the occasional hum of the engine and the soft murmur of other passengers. I looked out the window at the dark landscape, thinking about everything I had left behind. The hospital room, the pitying glances, the words of my children, the calculated concern that masked indifference. It all felt distant now, like a dream I had finally woken from. Linda sat beside me, silent but reassuring. Her presence was a steady anchor amidst the whirlwind of emotions inside me. She had been my secret ally, my partner in planning, and now my companion on this journey toward freedom. "You look different, Cecilia," she said softly, breaking the silence. "Stronger, lighter." "I feel different, Linda," I replied, my voice trembling slightly. "It's like I'm seeing life through eyes that were hidden for too long. I'm finally allowed to breathe." The bus passed through a string of small towns, each one illuminated by streetlights and glowing windows. I imagined the lives inside those homes, families sharing dinner, children laughing, mothers being appreciated. And for the first time I thought, why didn't I deserve that too? By the time the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the sky painted in soft pink and orange hues, I felt a strange peace settle over me. The anticipation of Dallas filled me with hope. Hope for a life where I wasn't invisible, where my presence mattered, where my choices were mine and mine alone. The bus finally pulled into the terminal at exactly 10 a.m, just as I had calculated. The city of Dallas stretched out before me, vibrant and welcoming. My cousin Hope was waiting, her arms open, her smile radiant. The moment I saw her, I felt a warmth that had been missing for decades. Cecilia! Oh, it's so good to see you, she exclaimed, enveloping me in a hug that carried genuine love and relief. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at me, and in that instant, I realised I had found a place where I could belong. Hope's home was beautiful, a bright sunlit space filled with plants and flowers. The scent of jasmine and roses greeted me, a welcome far sweeter than any perfume my children had ever worn. My room had a window overlooking the garden, the soft rustle of leaves and the chirping of birds, a stark contrast to the sterile hospital walls I had left behind. "This will be your home for as long as you need, Cecilia," Hope said gently. "And if you decide to stay forever, it will be an honour for me." The day passed in a blur of activity, unpacking, exploring the house, and sharing stories. Hope spoke of the city with enthusiasm, telling me about the parks where women my age gathered for morning walks, the markets with fresh produce, dance classes for seniors, and even part-time work opportunities for experienced people like me. Here, no one would judge me for starting over at 66. Here, I could finally be myself. That evening, while Hope prepared a homemade dinner reminiscent of my childhood, I felt a rare sense of calm. For years I had been a servant to the demands of my ungrateful children. Now I was free to choose, to live, to exist fully, without guilt or expectation. After dinner I settled into my new bedroom, the lavender-scented sheets soothing my weary body. My thoughts wandered to the letter I had left on the nightstand back in the hospital. I had taken careful measures to ensure my departure was clean, legal, and irreversible. My children would receive the letter, and there was nothing they could do to undo what I had done. The phone rang, a familiar, comforting voice. "Cecilia, how are you, dear?" It was Linda, calling from the city I had just left behind. "I'm better than ever," I replied, a smile touching my lips for the first time in years. "I feel alive." "I'm proud of you," she said, warmth and admiration in her tone. "Not many women your age would have the courage to do what you just did." "I'm not starting from scratch, Linda," I said, my heart swelling with determination. "I'm starting with 66 years of experience, $8,000 in my pocket, and the certainty that I deserve more than crumbs of attention. I deserve dignity, respect, and a life that's truly mine." As I hung up, I realised that my journey wasn't just physical. It was deeply emotional. I had shed the weight of years spent being unseen and undervalued. I had reclaimed the most precious thing a person could possess: self-respect. The next morning I walked through the local park with a group of women my age. They welcomed me with smiles and conversation, never asking about my past, only celebrating my present. We talked, laughed, and shared stories, each one a reminder that life didn't end at 66. It could be reborn, vibrant, and full of promise. I found a part-time job at a boutique downtown, helping women choose clothes and accessories. For the first time, I was appreciated not as a mother, not as a caretaker, but as Cecilia, a woman with taste, experience, and wisdom. Each compliment, each smile of appreciation felt like a balm on old wounds. In the afternoons, I attended painting classes at the Cultural Centre. The brush on the canvas became an extension of my voice, expressing emotions I had long suppressed. I painted not only landscapes, but feelings, freedom, joy, hope, and resilience. One afternoon, Hope looked at me with a gentle smile. "Cecilia, you look 10 years younger. It's incredible what freedom can do for a woman." She was right. I felt reborn. Every sacrifice, every moment of being overlooked or ignored had led me here to a life where I could finally be fully myself. It hadn't been easy. There were moments of doubt, moments of loneliness where the illusion of family love tugged at my heart. But each of those moments was fleeting, replaced by the satisfaction of living for myself for the first time in decades. 6 months after my arrival in Dallas, I had established routines that filled my days with purpose and joy. Morning walks, part-time work, painting classes, social gatherings. I had created a life that celebrated me, not my children's expectations. Evenings were for quiet reflection. I kept a diary chronicling my journey, my thoughts, and my newfound happiness. Each entry reminded me that I had made the right choice, that my life was valuable, and that I could still experience love, friendship, and growth at my age. Occasionally I saw my children's posts on social media, their lives moving on without me. But I no longer felt the need to pretend or care about their opinions. Their priorities, their parties, their urgent commitments, they were no longer mine to shoulder. I was Cecilia, not the abandoned mother, not the sacrificed woman, but a complete person, living life on her own terms. And for the first time in 40 years, that was more than enough. Part 4. Cecilia's journey of freedom. The days in Dallas unfolded like a dream I had long forgotten I could have. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the windows, birds chirping, and the soft rustle of leaves in Hope's garden. There was no rush, no guilt, no invisible strings pulling me back to a life that had drained my soul. For the first time in decades, I was free. The mornings were devoted to walks in the park. Women my age welcomed me warmly, sharing their own stories of struggle and resilience. It amazed me how many of us had spent years caring for others, sacrificing our happiness, and now, finally, we were rediscovering life for ourselves. I realized I was not alone in this. My journey was a shared experience, a quiet rebellion against a world that had undervalued us. After my morning walks, I often returned home to help Hope in her garden or chat over coffee. The scent of jasmine and roses filled the air, a fragrant reminder that beauty and peace could exist in every corner of life. I felt a deep connection with this city, this home, and this cousin who had become a family I could trust. Work at the downtown boutique brought a new kind of satisfaction. For the first time, I was appreciated purely for my experience and taste. Customers smiled, complimented my suggestions, and valued my opinion. It was such a simple pleasure, yet it filled a void that had long been ignored. I realized that being seen, being heard, and being respected was not a luxury. It was a human necessity. Afternoons were dedicated to painting classes at the Cultural Centre. With each brushstroke, I painted not just colours, but emotions: freedom, hope, courage, and self-love. The canvas became a mirror, reflecting my inner transformation. I remembered all the years I had hidden my desires, suppressed my dreams, and silenced my voice. Now, every line, every shade was a celebration of Cecilia, the woman I had rediscovered. One afternoon, while mixing colours for a new painting, I met Mr. Harrison, a retired widower, 70 years old, with kind eyes and a warm laugh. He became a gentle companion. There was nothing romantic between us, but his presence was comforting. For the first time, I realized that companionship did not require obligation or sacrifice. It could be a mutual exchange of respect, conversation, and shared moments. "Cecilia," he said one afternoon as we walked through the park, "I don't know what brought you to Dallas, but I hope it was something good. Your arrival has definitely been good for all of us." I smiled, feeling a warmth in my chest I hadn't known in years. It was a reminder that life could surprise me with kindness, even at an age where many expect only routine and endings. Meanwhile, the messages from my children continued, gradually shifting from desperation to pleading, from pleading to angry, and finally to resigned acceptance. Isaac, Mela, Benjamin, and Diana, they had all realized the weight of what they had lost, but I felt no guilt. 40 years of sacrifices and neglect were not mine to fix anymore. I had given them life, love, and care, but I was no longer willing to exchange my happiness for their emotional convenience. The first week after arriving in Dallas, I wrote in my diary, "Today, I woke up without the fear of judgment. I walked in the park, painted my first masterpiece, and felt alive. For the first time in decades, my choices belong to me. No one can dictate how I live, whom I meet, or what brings me joy. I am Cecilia, complete and unbroken." Hope and I often talked late into the evening. She shared stories of her life, her successes and failures, and we laughed about our shared dreams. I realized that true family was not always blood. It was the people who supported, loved, and respected you without expectation. One evening, while preparing dinner, I reflected on the drastic change my life had undergone in a matter of weeks. The woman who had boarded that bus from the hospital was no longer the same woman. That Cecilia, scared, controlled, and invisible, had been replaced by a confident, self-assured, and liberated Cecilia. I felt empowered in ways I hadn't known were possible. For years I had measured my worth through the attention, or lack thereof, of my children. Now I measured it through my own happiness, achievements, and the genuine connections I nurtured. As the weeks turned into months, I explored Dallas, discovering small cafes, lively markets, and quiet parks where the locals greeted me warmly. Each day felt like a page in a story I was writing for myself, not for anyone else. I joined social clubs, attended local events, and even started helping other women my age rediscover their independence. In the afternoons, I continued my painting classes, and my artworks began to attract attention. Local galleries asked if they could display my pieces. I smiled at this recognition. It was a validation of my talent, not my role as a mother or caretaker. Finally, I was recognized as Cecilia, an individual with passion and vision. The transformation was not only external, but internal. I slept soundly, laughed freely, and lived without the constant anxiety of meeting impossible expectations. I even began planning small trips, exploring the surrounding towns, meeting people, and collecting memories that belonged only to me. 6 months after my arrival, I celebrated my 67th birthday. Hope organised a small gathering with friends from the park, painting classes, and the boutique. For the first time, I felt genuinely loved, appreciated, and celebrated for who I truly was. The absence of my children no longer pained me. Instead, it highlighted the presence of those who truly mattered. That night, as I wrote in my diary, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Today, I am not just surviving. I am living. I am free. I am Cecilia, the woman I should have been all along. I have dignity, friends, new experiences, and the chance to write the rest of my story on my own terms. This is the life I deserve. And with that realization, I understood something crucial. It was never too late to choose oneself, to leave behind neglect, and to embrace the beauty of life that awaited. Dallas had become more than a city. It was a symbol of my rebirth, a place where freedom, respect, and joy were not dreams, but daily realities. Part 5 Emotional Flow version. The morning sun seeped through the hospital blinds, painting the room in a soft golden light. I woke up at 6 o'clock, my heart fluttering with a strange mixture of fear and excitement. Today wasn't just any day. Today marked the end of a life where I had been invisible, ignored, and used. Today, I would step into freedom. Fiona, noticing my restless hands, smiled gently. "Mrs. Stone, you look tense today. Is something bothering you?" I shook my head, a quiet smile forming on my lips. "On the contrary, dear, I'm excited. Today ends a life that no longer serves me." Throughout the morning, my mind ran over every detail. Linda had safely stored my $8,000 at her home, ready for the fresh start I had been dreaming of for decades. My cousin Hope in Dallas was waiting, arms open, a life of dignity and peace ready to embrace me. By 2 p.m, Isaac and Benjamin arrived, punctual as always. After the obligatory lunch, Diana appeared, flaunting a coral dress that seemed to mock the sacrifices I had made over the years. Mila arrived a few minutes later, apologising for a work call, a call that clearly outranked seeing her mother, who had just survived a heart attack. "You look better, Mum," Isaac said, choosing a chair as far as possible from my bed. "The doctor said you'll likely be discharged this week." Mila nodded, adding with a practised tone, "You've always been strong, Mum, very strong." Their words weren't comfort, they were excuses for neglect. Diana tilted her head with a false smile. "So, Mum, what are your plans after leaving the hospital? We might not be able to visit often, you know, but we can call on weekends." Benjamin jumped in with a calculated smile. "We thought it might be wise for you to consider a senior living facility, one with 24-hour nurses and activities to keep you busy." A nursing home. After abandoning me during my heart attack, they wanted to exile me in comfort zones that were nothing but cages disguised as care. "They are very nice," Diana added, showing off a brochure. "Costs around $2,000 a month, but with your pension and a small contribution from us, it's feasible." $2,000, the same amount Diana spent on her birthday dress, and they expected me to feel grateful. Isaac chimed in. "You'd be surrounded by people your age. You could make friends, play cards." I stayed silent, watching as my own children plotted to my life, as if I were a logistics problem, not a living, breathing woman with dreams, fears, and desires. Mela, as if sensing my silence, added, "It would be safer." Everyone, Mum. If another emergency happens, the staff can handle it without disturbing our schedules. There it was, the naked truth. Their convenience mattered more than my life. I felt a strange smile spread across my lips. You know what? You're right. Maybe I do need a radical change. Relief washed over them. They thought I had accepted their plan. "I'm glad you see it that way, Mum," Isaac said. "Yes," I repeated softly. "It's best for everyone." For the next hour they continued discussing budgets, social events, vacations, my life, all arranged without my consent. Diana even showed photos of her lavish birthday cake, Benjamin's designer gifts, their world where I had been just a side note. At 4 p.m, their exit was as scripted as their lives. Quick, obligatory kisses, yawns, glances at their phones. Each one left, leaving only the stale scent of perfume and broken promises. Alone in the room, I felt the heavy chains of decades finally lifting. In a few hours, Linda would arrive with everything I needed to vanish from the life that had never valued me. Fiona's afternoon checkup was brief. "How do you feel after their visit?" she asked. I exhaled deeply, the word rolling off my tongue like liberation. Free, completely free, free from the illusion that my existence matters to anyone but myself. At 6 p.m, Linda arrived, suitcase in hand, along with the $8,000 cash and the clothes I had longed to wear. "Ready for your new life?" she asked. "More than ready," I said. "I've been waiting for this moment for decades." The hospital corridors felt surreal as we walked out, blending with visitors and night shift staff, unnoticed but determined. Every step took me further from my old life and closer to the woman I had always wanted to be, Cecilia.